thunderstorms today with strong southwesterly winds to 37 miles per hour.
It's a numbers game, especially for the situation that we're in. We're coming off of a high water event here.
The outdoors is not a hobby. It's not our passion. It is our way of life. We make the perfect cast, slow our breathing to execute a perfect shot, spend hours researching locations and techniques. Regardless of effort, we fail. This series is not about incredible bites or trophy animals. Our goal here at Day One Outdoors is to educate our viewers utilizing new technology to offer a different perspective. Watch as we research new areas, plan out the day, and adjust to changing conditions. If not for other experienced outdoorsmen teaching me along the way, I wouldn't have this life. I owe it to them to pass this knowledge along. I owe it to you. Join us here on Day One Outdoors, and let's learn how to become more successful in the field and on the water from day one.
It's springtime here in Oregon, and you can see right now the beach is desolate. Tomorrow is going to be the first minus tide that we have had here in Oregon or Washington since clamming closed last year. So tomorrow morning, this beach that is now desolate is going to be filled with thousands upon thousands of people from here in Seaside all the way up to Long Beach, where the Razor Clam Festival is taking place here this weekend. A lot of times we get sucked into the outdoors being all about being grandiose. We get sucked into the outdoors being about who catches the most fish, who catches the biggest fish, who harvests the largest elk. That's not what the outdoors is about. What we're gonna see here tomorrow with the beach being full of people are families, close friends. The outdoors is about memories. We come out there, we go out to experience the outdoors to create these memories that will last for the rest of our lives. Razor clamming is a great way to introduce people to the outdoors. You have an excellent chance at success, and people get to take food home to share with their family and friends. So what we're gonna do here today, this being the first day that's been open for a long time, is we're gonna show you how to target razor clams, how to have a successful day here on the Oregon coast and a safe day. And then after we catch a few razor clams and harvest those, we're gonna see if we can find some surf perch. So this is gonna be an episode where we try and encourage you to go back to your roots. Remember your friends, your family, remember those memories that you've created in years past, and try and make new ones, especially with new folks, with new outdoors people. We're just getting started here clamming this morning. We have a minus 1.3 tide, but contrary to popular belief, you don't always need to come out here to the beach only on minus tides. You can actually do fairly well even on a positive tide. But just like in fishing, you need to start with location. You have to figure out where these clams are. So we're gonna walk down here towards the beach, take a look at the waves, and what we're looking for are high points, little sandbars, ridges, the highest spot that's going to dry out first as the tide recedes. Most folks think that you need to be here right at the bottom of the tide. The bottom of the tide this morning is at 7:45. The best time to be here is right now, right at daylight, the last hour to 2 hours before the bottom of the tide, for a couple reasons. Less people, obviously, and as the water recedes, it's going to expose more and more clams. Once you hit the bottom of the tide, you've missed all this beach, where the clams are starting to dig down as the tide recedes. Right now, we just had a set of waves as the tide is beginning to recede, come up and get about ankle deep water. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stand still. I don't wanna move around too much. I can't see any clams. I'm waiting for the water to rush out past my feet, let all of the sand settle. Then I'm gonna take my clam collar, very effective tool, just a nice big old piece of driftwood here, or you can also use the handle of your shovel, And now that the water has rushed out, I'm gonna walk at a 45-degree angle towards the surf and pound on the sand. And what I'm looking for is either a clam squirting up water or a little hole about the size of a dime to appear in the sand itself. And it looks like Hyben's already beat us out here to this spot. He saw the high spot too, and he's finding a few clams. Let's go take a look.
Fishfield is your one-stop shop online for the gear you need here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. From salmon and steelhead, saltwater, trout and kokanee, even crabbing. Visit fishfield.com today to place an order and have the gear you need shipped fast. Fishfield.com, we have what the Northwest outdoorsman needs.
Every once in a while, a new lure comes along that catches every angler's attention. It could be because of all the irresistible colors and finishes, or the patented skip beat action. Or maybe it's the wide variety of sizes designed for salmon, trout, walleye, steelhead, mackinaw, and more. But just for the record, we know one thing for certain. We didn't design the maglip to catch fishermen. Yakima Bait Company.
In the early season, you'll get them all the way up in the dry sand, all the way out into the surf here. There's a couple different methods to get them. You'll see guys who have waders and waterproof gear that want to go out deeper. Generally, the bigger clams are more towards the water line. But as you can see, there's people digging right here. You can see kind of the line where it seems like they are, because there's a couple holes that are all along the parallel line here. So whether you want to come down the surf and get them here, you can go up there. I believe I saw one. There he is. There you go. Tasty little bugger. Clean break, or clean dig. Nice clean dig right there. So the limit is 15 razors a day. I'm just counting to make sure I'm not going over, and see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 11. So, try to find 4 more here.
So far this morning, I've been spending most of my time right on the surf line, but I don't know if you guys have ever heard the term clam bed. Well, surprise, right? Well, take a look behind me. You see a line of holes where other folks have dug. Now, these clams will be on these clam beds at a certain elevation on the beach, east or west. And if you look towards the beach, a lot of clams in a single line. Not many up above, very few down here below, down near the tide line. So just like in fishing, we don't leave fish to find fish. We're not leaving clams to find clams. Obviously, for hundreds of yards, both up and down the beach, right at that elevation on this beach line seems to be where most of the clams are being found. Let's go join the masses and try and fill up the bag with our 15 clams. We started coming up towards the line where we're seeing all of the other post holes where people have dug. Came across our first hole. Now, sometimes when the ocean is a little bit rougher, or sometimes when the clams are not actively feeding, they're a little bit tougher to find. So walk with me right over here. I don't know if you guys can see it all that well, but if you look right here, there's that tiny little donut right there. Now, sometimes you can take your heel or your pounder and hit right next to it. You'll see them start to move the sand and they'll come out of their hole. Right now, that's not happening today. So you just need to use your eyes and pay really close attention to your surroundings. Just go slow. Typically, I like to run a gun, take my pounder, go really fast, look for those active clams, try and get them. It's not working today. So I'm learning from the family and friends that we have here. They're just walking around way away from the tide line and finding clams. So I'm gonna put my clam gun at an angle, because these clams are positioned at a slight angle towards the surf. And I'm not trying to push down really hard and fast. I just kind of let the sand slowly take the clam gun in. Just wiggle it back and forth, left and right, up and down. Trying to be careful not to crush the clam. Okay, I'll start with the first little bit of hole. Nothing yet. A little bit deeper here. There we go. There it goes. Okay, let's see if we can get him on this pole. There he is. Perfect size razor clam. Awesome. We're gonna have an excellent clam fry a little bit later on today. 10, 11, 12. Now this one right here, I broke with my clam gun. You always want to keep your clams regardless, not just because it's the law, but also because this is still going to eat well. And actually later on today, we're going to go surf perch fishing. We have plenty of clams, especially with our family here. I'll probably end up using this guy as fresh bait to target surf perch. So even if you break your clams, you find a really small clam, keep the clam. Not only is it the law, but it's the best thing to do for our ecosystem and to make sure that there's plenty of clams to get in the future for the younger generations.
So as the tide comes in, it's going to retreat, and as it retreats, the clam necks are sticking their neck out, and they're going to feed on what's going to come out in the surf. And you can actually see in the water, there's going to be really faint V's that you're looking for. I can see one right here, and they're all over. You can kind of see them, and as you approach them, you see the neck actually retreat back down in the sand, and you're going to dig for them, and they'll be right on the surface. So there's a clam neck right there that's sticking out. It's really subtle, but I can see the top of the neck. I'm gonna go and dig it right here because it's right on the surface. You don't have to go very deep since we sight them. And should be, I can see it right there. Look at that, nice and clean. Here's the neck right here. And on top of the neck, it's kind of where it's gonna feed through, right? And that's kind of a filter system. So as it's laying in the sand, what I'm looking for is this little kind of black, subtle feeding appendage, and it's gonna be right at the top of the surface as the tide retreats. And you can actually see them and they'll retreat down. It's a pretty cool thing.
We talked about how to utilize a clam gun, but now we're gonna talk about how to use a shovel. You wanna start about 6 inches towards the ocean of the show, and that's because these clams are angled towards the ocean itself. Now what you don't wanna do is stick the blade into the sand and pull back really hard. All that's gonna do is put the blade of the shovel halfway through the clam. You're gonna break your clam. So if you are gonna do it with the face of the shovel towards the clam, you're gonna go in with the handle pointing way up the beach to make sure the blade goes straight down, and then barely pull back and lift up. You're not trying to dig a really big hole, you're just trying to create a gap to get your hand in there to reach in at an angle sideways, grab a hold of the clam and pull it back out and up. So with the face towards the clam, just real short digs, creating a hole next to the show. And the same is true when you take the back of the shovel. Back of the shovel, straight down, handle towards you and towards the ocean. And you're gonna create a gap and dig out towards yourself. And this is the way that I personally prefer to do it. This way, we're not gonna break the clam. Once you get down to about the depth that you think that these clams are, you can take your hand, reach into the hole, go at an angle, reach around, feel them, and then pull them up. It's a great technique to do. It's the way I was originally taught, and it's the way that my mom still to this day likes to dig her clams. She's got them. Yeah, just the sand's collapsing around her. Been out here for, probably an hour and a half, pushing 2 hours, and the beach's starting to fill up with people. Tide's about almost at low slack. We're wrapping up our last few clams for everybody's limit. What we're gonna do now is go out and rinse them off, get them all cleaned up here, get ready to degrit them, and get them ready for the fryer.
Salmon swim up to 3,000 miles to return to their exact place of birth to reproduce. Well, most of the time.
Danny, we just got done getting all of our razor clams this morning, and now we're coming out here right at the bottom of the tide, and the surf is starting to come in. The tide's coming in. We got a high tide around 1:30, 2 o'clock today. It's a perfect time to come out here and get a lay of the land and try and figure out where these surf perch are going to be as the tide starts to creep in. And what we're looking for the most part, are troughs and current edges. And what I'm looking at right now is the waves are really small, so they're coming up over top of a spit over here. It looks like it troughs off and gets deep, creates a little V current. And then if you look over here to the left, I'm noticing all the waves are really short stacked, and they're breaking and then stopping. They're not flushing all the way up the beach. So that tells me that there should be a trough right in that area. Is that a good spot to try and target these surf perch?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So as the tide is coming in, there's a trough right there. So it's causing these waves to break really close into the shore. And that's really what you're looking for, because the fish are going to be moving in and out of the surf right around there. A great time in the low tide is to look at some of the topography. So you'll see a couple of the currents kind of coming in, mixing together right here. And what that'll do is it'll mix up the bait that's going to be in the water. And I think as this tide moves in, we're going to see some of the fish come in and feed around that area.
A wave will never be taller than it is deep. So what I like to do is I like to look out there, see where the big breaks are, and then if you see the break, the white water disappear, that means that it's getting deeper down below. So that white break goes away, it got deeper, there's your trough, and that's where these fish will be laying. They're looking for those little travel lanes. Now these fish, it's not like targeting rockfish. These fish are moving a lot, they're constantly on the search. The good thing and potentially the bad thing is that we got a lot of clammers out here. So I should put a lot of scent in the water. It's also springtime. These fish should be coming in close to shore to spawn. So things are working in our favor, but with all that bait out there, all that scent, it might be a little bit harder to catch them. We're gonna give it a shot though.
Yeah. There's Hyven. Somewhere in here, in the ocean. We're gonna search.
If you look at the water right now, you can see the bubble trail. It comes straight up the beach and goes straight back out. But a little bit over here to my right, see the current going right to left. It's that undertow, it's that little trough that exists out there. So all that water is being swept off that high spot and brought back into that trough. That's a great place for these surf perch to travel because you're getting a different current coming across what the tide is currently doing. So it mixes up the bottom, and that stirs up all of the bait for these surf perch to feed on. We're just getting started here as the tide's starting to come in. We're gonna take a moment and go over the rigging. Now there's two different types of rigging that you can do for a surf perch. Your most common one is this triple rig right here. In Oregon, we're allowed 3 hooks per line, per rod. And so that's what we have right now is this triple rig. So let's start off with the rod. You know, in most cases, anything about 9 to 10 feet long is gonna help just because it's gonna allow you to get a little bit further out into the surf. This is just your steelhead rod, so even if you don't have a surf specific rod, just get a pole that you have already in your arsenal that's 9 to 10 feet in length and it'll work out just fine. Next, on down to the reel, you don't need much line. These fish are tasty, but they're not hard fighters. So just enough line to get it out there as far as your cast will be plenty. This is just a 2500 size reel. As for line, braided line does help. It's not a must, but what it does is because it has that thinner diameter, it's gonna cut through these waves and you're gonna have better sensitivity to feel what's going on with your gear at depth. Now this is something that's pretty slick that just came out recently. Fishfield came out with a surf perch specific rig. It's already pre-tied up. It has nice short leaders on it with 3 hooks already pre-snelled. And what's nice about these short leaders is that they're not gonna get tangled up together. They're not gonna wrap around the line. They have these clear plastic tees on them to keep everything all separated out and keeps your bait fishing clean while you're out there in the surf. Then at the very bottom of that pre-tied rig is a snap swivel, and we're just putting on either a sand dollar or a pyramid style sinker, anywhere from 2 ounces to 4 ounces, depending upon how rough the surf is and what will work out best for their fishing rod. This is my light steelhead bobber rod, so I'm just using 2-3 ounces here today. Safety is the most important thing when you're out here surf fishing. Now, when you're finding a good spot for surf perch, you're not gonna have your typical sets of waves. What I mean by sets is typically waves will come into an area in sets of 3 or 4, and they're all gonna be about the same size coming in. I think you'll see a secondary set coming in behind that. Here, because we have all the currents and the steeper drop off in the troughs, the waves become broken. So you're getting waves coming in different directions. You have a stronger undertow. It's a bit more unpredictable. So you need to pay attention to what's happening. Never turn your back to the ocean. Use your ears. Listen to what the ocean is trying to tell you. So the first thing I do is I like to stand right at the edge of the tide and look out and see where the biggest breaks are, not only to try and figure out where the fish are, but also where the safest place to stand is. You do not want to be in the white water where it's breaking right on you. That's where the ocean has the most amount of power. So you want to stand either on this side of the break or on the ocean side of the break. So let's start walking out there just a little ways. You never know when there's going to be a trough where it's going to drop off real quick. So just take your time and slowly walk out into the surf. And you never really want to go out any deeper than about knee deep. You can have a larger wave come in and it can soak you up and flood your waders pretty quickly. So try and stay about knee deep or shallower. I got a couple of large waves coming. And what you don't want to do is face right at the waves straight on. You want to turn your body sideways so when the wave hits, it has the least amount of pressure on your body. If you're turning like this and facing it, you're going to take the brunt force of that wave. So when the wave comes, turn sideways, and it has less pressure on your body so you can stay more stable. The current as it's coming in and going out is moving the sand away from your feet. You do not want to stay in one spot for more than 1 or 2 sets of waves. As they come in and go out, just take 1 step to your right or 1 step to your left, and that will get your feet out of those holes, because your feet will eventually get buried and you will lose your balance. No fish is worth your safety. Start slowly backing up. Don't fight the current. Don't fight the waves. Let them help you move. Safety is key out here, targeting surf perch on the Pacific coast.
Fell off right when I was trying to lift it up, but it was a little guy and it bit right in the first set of breakers there, and it bit on the gulp worm. So there's one, there's more, and the tide's starting to come in more, so it should get better and better. I don't know if I got it. We'll see. It was a little bite, but I missed it. It's 2 bites in a row. So it tells me they're starting to come in with the tide. So I'm gonna cast back and see if we can get more.
Sandworms bit in half.
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened to mine. I had 3 bites in a row. I lost one to fish as I was bringing it up.
Hyben's had a couple bites. Danny's had a few bites. Ashley's had 2 bites. I'm biteless. And the one common denominator is they're all using those little camo and blood colored sandworms. Artificial bait. You think natural bait work best? Can't argue with the fish. So I'm gonna switch it up right now and throw on one of those little camo or blood sandworms. That's the one.
Got it. Did I get it? Did I get it? Oh, I think I lost it. No, I lost it.
Fish on! Here it comes. Stay on, little buddy. Oh, that's a nice one too. Check this bad boy out. Woo. He couldn't resist the spin glow bloodworm. These fish are so pretty. We've had a lot of bites. This is our first one landed, so I'm getting away from the surf and make sure this guy ends up in my bag here. That's gonna be excellent fish tacos. You look delicious.
I think it's a fish, but I may have lost it. That was a great bite. Oh no! No! Oh, there it is. That's a big one. Look at that. That is a nice Oregon tail surf perch. It bit pretty hard. That's a big one. Bit right on the razor clam there. It bit down pretty hard. It was right on that spit that we scouted earlier. And sure enough, when the high tide came up over the spit, that's exactly where it bit.
That's got to be a keeper.
That's a keeper. That's a keeper.
But is it open right now?
Hey, and actually,
It's a female, I think. It's a live spawner.
yeah, buddy,
Make some good eats.
that's a fat one.
Yeah.